warm welcome to everyone today to our Nordic webinar on Teacher Academies 2024. It brings me great pleasure to invite you all here today. This webinar has been jointly arranged by the national agencies in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Iceland. And without much further ado, I'll be welcoming my Danish colleagues Rune and Ditte for their presentation on the Teacher Academies action and introduction to the 2024 call. Rune and Ditte, the floor is yours.
My name is Rune Damgaard Stramer, and I am from the Danish National Agency. My colleague Ditte and I will now give you a short overall introduction to the call 2024 and Teacher Academies in general. But we will already now upfront mention that Teacher Academies is a central action which is administrated centrally from Brussels by EACEA, European Education and Culture Executive Agency, and there will therefore probably be a number of technical questions that we cannot answer during this webinar, but where you instead should contact EACEA afterwards. This is also the reason why we have allied ourselves with the project coordinators from VIA University College in Denmark and Norwegian School of Sports and Science in Norway, who are already working on a project in Teachers Academies. And they will probably have more experience and detailed knowledge, especially about the more technical issues and questions. So thank you, Lillian, Frode, and Mats for joining us as this webinar. But yes, let us jump directly a little to our little agenda for this short introduction. There will be a little about the background on why it was decided to have Teachers Academies in first place. There will be something about what, who, and where. What is Teachers Academies? Who can apply and take part in it? And where the activities in the project must take place. There will also be something about the liability criteria, something about the award criteria, and finally there'll be something about the founding rules. Yes, so here first a little bit about the background on why it was decided to design the Teacher Academy action. The Commission sees in several surveys and collected data that there is a need to reinforce the attractiveness of the teaching profession. For instance, a survey shows that only 18% of lower secondary school teachers think that their profession is valued by society. There is also a shortage of teachers in general, and it's a problem in all member states in the European Union due to aging workforce, where, for instance, almost 40% of lower secondary teachers in Europe are 50 years old or above, and where 1/3 will retire in the next decade. This is actually a very big problem and an increasing problem. Every year when the Commission is collecting new data, they see that the situation is worsening, and the data also shows there is a gender imbalance with a significant shortage of male teachers. And then there is also highlighted that there is a need for more continuous professional development, and this is, among other things, where Teachers Academies can help support this objective. We can say the Teacher Academies is of course not the whole solution, but it is an initiative which is aiming on supporting and complementing the activities in the member states. So this was a little bit about the background. And what is Teacher Academies about then? A Teacher Academy is about creating networks of initial teacher education, continuous profession development providers, and other relevant stakeholders. It is about sustainable cooperation with an impact of the quality of teacher education.
You muted your microphone. Your microphone is muted, Rune.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? From where could you hear me?
From Denmark. We can hear you now, Rune.
Fine, yes, yeah.
Just start all over from this slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And what is Teachers Academies then? Okay, we'll start from the top here. A Teacher Academy is about creating networks of initial teacher education, continuous professional development providers, and other relevant stakeholders. It is about sustainable cooperation with an impact of the quality of teacher education. It's about developing joint learning offer for students and serving teachers with strong European dimension and through innovative and practical collaboration. It is about developing learning mobility, virtual, physical, and blended as part of teaching learning. And it's about informed policy development and sustainable collaborative networks. And then there is a little bit about who can apply, take part in the project. And the eligibility criteria are as follows. Applicants coordinating full or associated partners must be organization, public or private, legally established in an EU member state or a third country associated to a program. Organization established in a third country not associated to a program cannot participate. Moreover, the coordinating organization must be a teacher education institution. It cannot be an affiliated entity. And in this slide, you can see a non-exhaustive list of organizations who can take part in a project in Teacher Academies. There is a novelty of this call, and that is that they have expanded the target group. So they are addressing also to staff belonging to pre-education and early childhood education. That is the ISCED levels 0 to 3, including wet teachers. Apart from that, the participants could be ministries or similar public bodies, public and private bodies responsible for teacher education and teachers' qualifications, teacher association and other national recognized providers of teacher education and continuous professional development, authorities responsible for education and training of teachers, schools working with teacher education providers, and other schools from primary schools to initial wet or other organizations, IT, NGOs, teacher associations relevant for the projects. And then some information about where the activities must take place. The activities must take place in EU member state or third countries associated to the program, and activities taking place in third countries not associated to the program are not liable. Yes. And then I will pass the word to my colleague Ditte, who will talk about how a Teacher Academies consortium can be constructed, as well as about the award criteria and the founding rules. So yes, Ditte, the word is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes, as you can see, there are a certain number of a little bit more details on how to establish this consortium, because it's not because it has to consist of a minimum of six applicants, and it has to be beneficiaries, and these applicants must be from a minimum of 4 EU member states or third countries associated to the program. So within the list that Rune was presenting, it must be constructed in this way, and then it has to be complied with the following conditions, and which means that a minimum of 4 providers of initial teacher education from 3 different member states and third countries associated to the program, and a minimum of 1 provider of continued professional development for teachers, and a minimum of 1 practice or training school for practice and training. So this is how these are like the criteria how the consortium must be constructed. And also the consortium may also include affiliated entities or associated partners for other organizations with relevant expertise. So this is except from the above mentioned institutions. Yes, next slide, please. And then there are some, the criteria is that, the duration of the project is 36 months, and you will apply, this will was supposed to be a link. Well, I guess I don't know. Yeah. Well, but at the funding and tender portal, which is like as Rune said before, this action is centralized, so you have to apply directly to the funding and tender portal, and the deadline is on the 6th of June this year, 5 o'clock Brussels time. Yes. And then the award criteria, and this is just to show how the points will have to be divided, or how. So in order to pass, you need to have there need to be 70 points out of 100, and you can see here that the different criteria you need. I mean, for the relevance of the project, you need to get a maximum 35%, minimum 18. Quality of the project design, 25%, 25 points, minimum 13. Quality of project and consortium and cooperation arrangement, maximum 20 points, minimum 11, and impact 20 and minimum 11. So it means that even though you can actually get 70 points, but if you have not passed the threshold within the individual criteria, I mean, you will not be able to pass. These criteria are very detailed, described in the project program guide. But I would just like briefly go through them here. For example, explaining like the relevance of the project is you would be evaluated for the extent to which the proposal will deal with the Erasmus Plus priorities, which is inclusion and diversity, environment, and fight against climate change, and how it will address the digital transformation through development of digital readiness, and civic engagement, participation. Also, there's you will be evaluated how the project will address the EU values, such as respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. Also says something about the consistency to the extent to which the proposal is based on an adequate needs analysis, clearly defined and realistic goals. So all in all, it's about how relevant the project is to the call of to the objectives of the call, and to the values of the EU, etc. And then the next category is quality of the project design and implementation, which is about coherence of the project design and methodology used in the project design, structure, management, whether the budget provides for appropriate resources, and then monitoring tools, indicators that are set to ensure that the project implementation is of high quality. The next category is quality of the partnership and the cooperation of arrangement, which is like how the project involves an approximate mix of complementary participating organizations, cooperation with stakeholders, the geographical balance, the commitment, the distribution of responsibilities within the management, and effective mechanism is to ensure the good coordination and decision making. So that is more or less about how will this partnership be managed. And then lastly, the impact. Here will your application be evaluated to the extent of how the proposal demonstrates outcome of the project will be used by other partners, this dissemination and the impact on participants and outside organizations, and also be mentioned on how the proposal explains how the teacher academies will be rolled out and further developed. So the last category is like more like what will happen after the project has been taken place. Yes. And then the next slide. Yeah, and then just briefly about the funding rules. The maximum grant that you can get for this type of project is 1.5 million euros. The funding rate is 80%, so that means that like there's a requirement of 20% self funding. The type of the grant is a lump sum. Type 2, which is payment of a fixed amount, and then the relevant work package should include cost for at least one annual meeting organized by or the initiative of the European Commission and colleges. Yeah, there's the IKEA Foundation for the exchange of good practice and mutual learning between Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies. So these are the, next slide. Yeah, and here is the timeline. So within 4 months, approximately, there will be a deadline for the application, and then it will take quite some months to evaluate them, and you will have the result within December. And then during March next year, the grant agreement will be signed, and then a little bit later, you'll be able to start the project. Yeah, so this is what you should expect in terms of applying and starting the project. Yes. Yeah, and then we just added some useful links for the program guide, as I talked about before, where you can find all the details and rules and criteria and etc. for this call, and then a link to the portal where you have to submit the application. Yes, and in case of questions, we will ask you to contact the IKEA on this email, because as Rune said before, since it is a centralized action, it is managed by the IKEA. Yeah, so I guess that's it.
Thank you so much, Rune and Ditte, for a great overview. As with these centralized actions, it's difficult also as we NAs, we technically don't work directly with the actions, but I hope this has given you an overview over the basic structure of the Teacher Academy's action. I think it was great to see as one of these sort of flagship initiatives within the Erasmus Plus actions with a bit of a larger ambition and scale in terms of budget. We can definitely see this in the eligibility criteria, but I think this highlights importance of also getting these things right when looking at an application. But hopefully for those of you, I see some familiar faces, both from here in Sweden and abroad, who has worked with KA2, Key Action 2 before, and I think you hopefully see some similarities in that as well. So we do have one question, but I think we'll save that to a little bit to later, and move on to our next presenter. So a very warm welcome. Now we'll go into the actual presentation of perhaps the project examples, and many of you are here for today as well to see what concrete activities can be done, and from Nordic organizations like yourselves who've actually has applied and gotten granted an action, a project in this action. So without further ado, I welcome Lillian Buus from VIA University College in Aarhus. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me into this. We got applied for the second call on the Teacher Academies that was up running and got our 21st century European Teachers project going through, and this is just to let you know about not that, but actually about the process that we went through for applying on this. My name is Lillian Buus. I'm from VIA University College, situated in Denmark. We do teacher professions, both pre-service and in-service teachers are invited in various ways, and I'm situated in Aarhus at the moment. So when we started this, is it to get an idea or to be invited? There will be different ways to get into this. And what happened was that there had been a consortium that actually applied in the first round of the proposal or application that was there. And they have been working on this. And then the coordinator, who was from Germany, all of a sudden left the project. And it was a collaboration that was between the teacher education and continuous education at VIA. So I got contacted by our project department at VIA University College saying, we have some teachers and we have some educators that really would like to join this good intentions of teacher education in Europe. And we could use someone to coordinate it. So this was actually within our own lines that people came and asked us. I'm sitting in the research and development department, learning and digital technologies. So we were asked, could we be coordinators? And I have been working on various EU projects. So I thought that that could be an interesting part of doing. And we invited for a whole group of people to actually collaborate with us to get an idea. And we also actually had an idea of what we were already doing. We would really like to work with the 3 or 4 emerging subject areas that we saw was taking part in Europe and in general in teacher professions. So we would like to work on technological empowerment, sustainable learning, entrepreneurship, and playful learning. So our idea was that how can we combine these 4 subject areas into a project? And what we did was that we think that we will develop 5 learning modules and provided by a massive open online course. So that was the broad idea that we actually had when we were talking. This has been elaborated throughout the project period now, so that's why it's now colorful statements. But what we presented was actually some kind of flower, because what we did and how we got into to get started was to actually find the right partners. So we provided a one-pager that described our idea, and we distributed it through our network and also through the CDEU, the Central Denmark EU Office Network. So actually pointing out to specific persons or organizations that we really would like to invite into this collaboration. Then we also build it on networks that we already was in contact with. So we actually pinpointed partners with whom we have been writing applications before, but didn't get the project though. But we know or knew what they contained and what kind of qualification that they actually had. Then through the network where we distributed it, then we actually got many people signing in saying we would like to join, but to us it was important to choose some partners that we knew could provide the knowledge that we needed and the expertise to some of the things that we were really able to work on ourselves, and that could help us. So that we need to look at this as a holistic project that needs to be within this. So it's really, really important to find partners that has these qualifications. And when I talk about partners here, I'm not talking about the schools. I'm actually talking about the partners, the one that Dieter presented, where there were these 4 EU member partners that needs to be some kind of consortium. So one of the things that we also kind of stressed in this was that the partners that we would like to collaborate with needed to be trustworthy on communication and impact, because it's not nice to admit, but we were a bit late on this, and we were late in the sense that I think we have, like, from now until the deadline of this round as well, 3 to 4 months, and having no partners, really need to sell the idea and these kind of things is stressful, because you also have other obligations besides writing this proposal. So it was really important to us that the partners that we committed with was really eager to be part of this, could see the overall idea, could respond it when we texted them, wrote them emails, had online meetings and these kind of things. So what we also did was that we actually tested them in the sense of, are they really into this as much as we are? So we met physically with our partners in Brussels to actually do a shared writing workshop, and to get aligned about what was this idea, and try to establish this coherency in the understandings. And we assigned the work pages, got the work pages right, had discussions about that, could see a shared progression in the project of this, discussed quite a bit about mobility and how we, as you may remember, one of the eligibilities was mobility, and how we could assign for that. So we provided quite a clear structure for the time that was left to do this proposal writing. So have online meetings, really sharp deadlines, really clear about the deliverables that needs to be aligned. Our project is not a lump sum project, which therefore is on the old way of actually do time registration and these kind of things. But deliverables are still really important to have some milestones and deliverables that actually are aligned and we agree upon how these are. And also, of course, alignment on the topics. So we ask all the partners to bring in how do they work in their respective countries with these 4 subject areas. Then we got this core group of consortium members writing the application. And I was asked when I was in Brussels, because time was really tight, whether we, as a coordinator, if they put so much effort in this, would we go through it? Would we put the effort that took to actually do the final work to finish up the application and to submit? That was really important for our partners as well. So the commitment goes both ways, really, really important. Then we had to get in contact with the schools, because, as you know, there needed to be a training school, but we would really like to take this training with the schools and the mobility and try to build that in a combined way. So we had this really really fancy model where we actually visit each other to map some things, what's going on in the different countries, and also a model where we visit each other, and our partners will come visit us in 2 weeks' time. And prior to that, we have been working very hard on this project to prepare some things that they can come and be mobilized around. But at this time, we didn't have the project yet. So in the Danish context, we were really challenged. We were challenged in the way that needed to find a school that knows what EU projects are all about. And that's not just a straightforward thing, because it actually takes quite a lot of time and effort to be part of an EU project. So to a school that has lots of other obligations and have a privilege to be educating, having teachers in many other different projects, national ones. What then in the international context? So I'm sorry to admit, but we actually got an arrangement just the day before we had to submit with the school that needed to be within this project. And it was luckily a school that knew about EU projects, knew what it meant to be part of EU projects, what kind of capabilities that they had to deliver within EU projects and take part in this. And prior to that, we have actually been in contact with 5 or 6 other schools that said, no, we can't go into this. Another issue we were facing was that we have an Italian partner, and in the Italian context, there's quite a lot of bureaucracy, and which means that taking in a school, and with the time that we have, we actually didn't have the time to go through the paperwork that the Italian partners needed to actually take this. So one of the key issues is actually have enough time or just work really, really hard to all of this and be aware of the different contacts that are here. So this is the national contact that needs to be there. Into this, we actually ended up by having these partners within. We have an Italian NGO that are working with us doing teacher professions in various ways. We have a Spanish partner and a Spanish school. We have a Romanian partner and a Romanian school. And in Denmark, we also have both the school and us as this. And in Finland, we actually have 2 organizations working on different things. One of them is actually the ones responsible for developing the MOOCs, and the other one for the teacher professions. And then we have European SchoolNet as one of our collaboration partners as well, because we wanted to also use this in a more broad European way. Just briefly, and it will be briefly, but the project has 5 objectives. We want to establish a strong network. We want to be driver for mobility. We wanted to test out different way of doing mobility. We wanted to design, develop, and try out some joint learning modules. So each country will actually provide input on these different learning modules that the Finnish partner will wrap up and contain. Then we will provide some recommendations on a EU and political level also for the 21st century European teacher in different ways. We will have national workshops, and we will do a co-education model that will be developed throughout this. Then we got the project. Reality hit us, and we needed to translate the project proposal into implementation. What meant was that the Danish partner actually had a new principal and couldn't join because then there wasn't. So we had to change the Danish school with another school that was smaller, and would that work? And another issue was that teacher education in Denmark throughout this year, as you say, it almost takes a year from you put in your application till you get it started. Then teacher education in Denmark has changed. So there was no absence for students. So how do we provide mobility on this? And can we get something about the Italian school as well? So this was some of the things that was really stressing and stressful before we actually got into this. But I think we are very well on our way on this. And then I think don't get frustrated, but get all the help that you can have. We have a project and legal officer to help to get the EU system updated and prepared for the what's it called, grant agreement preparation phase, and also grant agreement afterwards, to get all the partners into the EU system, get the Danish school who was not EU validated through this validation process and assign PL signs. And lots of these issues was really challenging because there were things that we didn't know. Because, for instance, the Danish school is under the commune, so we had to have the commune to actually like this project as well, and they didn't know anything about it. So lots of communication, lots of dialogue. So the 3 months that it took, or almost 4, to prepare the grant agreement wasn't enough. So we had to be doing an amendment process for actually get the Danish school onboarded. So economy and legal issues is really important. So also have this in place, and all of these things within your organization, if you are coordinated as these, but also as a partner to be aware of this. And I think this is just to wrap up some of the things, but be aware of the possibilities that circumstances actually will change before the proposals, or after the proposal is accepted, should say. And it's actually all right to say no to participate in these things if you don't think that the time is there or your time is not there, because what it really needs a commitment to get into projects like this. And I think that was what I wanted to say.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lillian. Really interesting to hear. Also, in a way, important to see also these concrete sort of hurdles and complexities that you have along the way, even with regards to applying. But I also really enjoy seeing what I interpret as the importance of the physical meeting as well, of actually having a chance to meet your partners and before such an application of this magnitude. So I think we'll save these questions. I know we've also have received some sent in beforehand, but we'll have Lillian with us after the break as well. So to make sure that we keep our schedule, I'll directly introduce onto the floor Mats and Frode from the Norwegian School of Sports Sciences, who will present their PhysEd-Academy. Welcome, Mats and Frode.
Mats and me, we work at the Norwegian School of Sports Science. Mats is he's nearly a professor, and I'm the research and innovation coordinator. So I help people like Mats to get funded, and that's what I've been doing for 25 years. And try to say something, Mats.
Hello.
Much better, thank you.
Okay, hopefully.
Thank you. Well, yeah, thank you.
And now Mats is going to explain how we wrote this proposal in 3 weeks and also got the partnership together. Enjoy.
So I will mainly focus on, or we have been asked to focus on provide an overview of the project and the specific outcomes. So far, we are 1.5 years into the project, so about half the way, and also speak a bit about the application process and the challenges and lessons learned. So hi everyone, my name is Mats Hordvik. I'm coordinating the PhysEd-Academy project, or Physical Education Teacher Academy project. And that was founded in the first Erasmus Teacher call. Frode have already introduced himself, so I'll move forward. We have different partners, so both from higher education institutions and schools, and also organizations. So we have 7 higher education partners from Ireland, Slovenia, Sweden, Spain, Luxembourg, and Turkey. And then we have 3 schools from Norway, Turkey, and Sweden, and then 2 physical education organizations, so European Physical Education Association and the International Association that is also an associate partner. So PIA is a full partner and ISEP is an associate partner. So in total, we are 27 teacher educators on the project and 16 teachers, and we applied for 1.5 million euros and got that to carry out the project. The main objectives of the project is to facilitate radical change in physical education by developing sustainable and international collaboration between school physical education and physical education teacher education that results in equitable outcomes for teacher educators, pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, and school children and youth. And we have 2 main activities to accomplish the main objective. So we are developing, implementing, and testing so-called signature pedagogies of teacher education in physical education, and developing innovative physical education pedagogy or content that we share in an online professional development program. So before moving forward to talk about the work package, I will shortly or briefly talk about what signature pedagogy is, what that entails. So signature pedagogy is the form of teaching and learning that leap to mind when thinking about the training of members of professions. So for example, how to teach pre-service teachers. And one signature pedagogy could be peer teaching. And this is coming from, so signature pedagogy is coming from the work of Lee Schulman. And the signature pedagogies are pervasive and routine, so they are commonly used across both universities, topics and courses and in different programs. So and each or a signature pedagogy involves 3 structures. So if we use peer teaching as an example, a signature pedagogy has a surface structure, so that is what the pedagogy is. So what the teaching and learning activities, so what you see in the classroom or in the gymnasium. A deep structure, so what the pedagogist does in form of learning. So for example, in peer teaching, the aim is to develop the pedagogical skills and competence of the pre-service teachers. And then lastly, an implicit structure that is more focused on the moral dimensions and a set of beliefs about the professional attitudes, values, and dispositions that pre-service teachers develop from the signature pedagogy. So again, for example, peer teaching is designed to challenge beliefs and values about teaching and learning in physical education. So looking at the how we have developed the project and different work packages, I will mainly focus on the ones in the middle, so the actual activities, and then I will talk a bit more about management coordination when I talk about the lessons learned. So we have 5 work packages that are mainly concerned about the main activities that I just mentioned, about developing, implementing, and testing the signature pedagogies in teacher education and in school. So work package 1, develop the PhysEd-Academy networks. This is a work package that go throughout the project, where we have different activities to develop and connect and develop collaboration between the partners. So we have had online workshops focusing on the signature pedagogies that we have developed. I will speak more about that later. We have had physical meetings, so we have met in Norway, Luxembourg, and Turkey, and we will meet in Slovenia and Ireland later in the project. In Turkey, we also carried out student mobility, so each higher education institution had 1 or 2 pre-service teachers joining us for the meeting in Turkey, where we were able to have activities with both pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, and teacher educators. And we will do that also in Slovenia. So the Slovenia meeting will also be, we will also arrange a summer school for the Slovenia meeting, where we also aim to together both pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, and teacher educators together to discuss pedagogy of teacher education and innovative PE or physical education pedagogy. So second, this is the work package that we have already finalized, and we have developed a set of signature pedagogies or a PhysEd-Academy signature pedagogies. And the pedagogies that we have developed is mainly based on a scoping review, where we have looked at papers published in English between 2015 and 2023, covering a broad definition of pedagogy. So it could be related to both pre-service teachers or initial teacher education, continuous professional development of teachers in schools, and also professional development of teacher educators. So we identified in total 2,500 articles, and in the final included papers are in a total of 464 papers. So the pedagogies we have constructed is autobiographical pedagogies, pedagogies of professional learning, and experiential pedagogies. And what we have done is so in each of the signature pedagogies, we have specific pedagogical approaches. So for example, in autobiographical pedagogies, we have narrative, vision, and vignette. So we have both defined the surface, deep, and implicit structure for each of the specific pedagogical approaches, and the same for the overall or main or the actual signature pedagogies. So I will not go through this in detail now, but you can see like the difference in the aim for the pre-service teacher or teacher's learning. So for example, autobiographical pedagogies focus on criticality and reflexivity of the teachers. Experiential pedagogies often focus on pedagogical skills, while pedagogies for professional learning are mainly focused on developing the self and professional growth of the teacher. So again, importantly here, we're not speaking about initial teacher education, but we are speaking about teachers in a broader sense. So the signature pedagogies could be used both in initial teacher education, professional development for in-service teachers, and teacher educators. So looking at the structure of the different signature pedagogies. So what is the actual signature pedagogy? So for autobiographical pedagogies is where teachers learn through engaging with and reflecting on stories and experiences, own or others, real or fictional, past, present, or future. And examples we have identified is narrative, vision, vignettes, biography, and fictional tale. And experiential pedagogies is where teachers learn through bodily and lived teaching and learning experiences in authentic settings as both teachers and learners. And examples is school placement, living the curriculum, peer teaching, service learning, and modeling. And finally, pedagogies of professional learning is where teachers learn through collaborating in a pair or group with a shared vision and goal to improve and better understand their practices. And we have divided this into two main examples. So the first is learning community, for example, community of practice. And the second one is practitioner inquiry. So for example, action research or self-study. Moving to the third work package. So that's concerned with testing signature pedagogies in initial teacher education. So we are testing the pedagogies that we have constructed in work package 2 in initial teacher education. So 2 teacher educators from the 7 partner universities implement one or several of the signature pedagogies in their own module course, so their daily practice. And we are carrying out a research project related to this as well. So the teacher educators are carrying out a self-study where they write a reflected diary, and we carry out focus groups with the pre-service teachers on competition of the courses. And this is almost finalized. So some of the teacher educators are doing the final teaching this month. And then the fourth work package is focused on testing the singing pedagogies in continuous professional development for in-service teachers. So we are working on developing an online professional development program for PE physical education teachers. Where we create teaching mini packs. So each university partner together with schools are creating a teaching mini pack that involves innovative PE pedagogies, so not single pedagogies for teacher education, but actually how to teach or the pedagogy of physical education. Each mini pack will also consist of a single pedagogy or a suggestion. So we have not decided how the final online CPD will look like, but it will most likely consist of 6 different teaching mini packs and a kind of a mini pack for the single pedagogies as well. And finally, implementing learning from work package 3 and 4 into schools. So we are looking to investigate the students' experiences and see the connection from teacher education to students' learning outcomes. And this is a difficult task, and we have kind of learned through the project that it might be impossible within the design or the limits of the 3-year project that we have. But we will follow the students of the in-service teachers that are to explore the singing pedagogy in work package 4. And we will also carry out focus group interviews with some of the pre-service teachers that have experienced the singing pedagogies in their IT program, and then use what they have learned in school placement. So what have we learned? First one, so as Frode mentioned, we wrote the application in 2 or 3 weeks. I think we found the application 3 weeks before the deadline, and then I used the first week to kind of make my calendar only focusing on developing the application. So we wrote in almost 2 weeks. I'm not sure if that was a success, but at least it allowed us to really focus on the idea and write the application. So I will not suggest it to others, but at least for us, it was a success this time. But I think by doing it in 2 weeks, we needed to write the entire application, and that have kind of caused challenges and problems when actually implementing the project idea. So that kind of connected to the second points about what we have learned. But I think it's important that coordination needs, or the coordinator needs a substantial amount of funding. So we were rather democratic when we divided the budget or developed the budget. So all partners received quite a lot of money, and we didn't have maybe enough money to do actually the coordination. So we have found out now that we're doing a lot of coordination, we're doing a lot of the activities in the project, and are doing more work in the partners. And we don't have the funding or the money to actually do those activities. And similar to what Lillian mentioned, I think it's important to carefully select partners. We were in a hurry. We invited partners that I knew from before, but also were kind of thinking strategic and wanted partners from several areas of Europe. So we also invite partners that I didn't know from before, and that have kind of caused some challenges as we have different partners with different expertise, ownership, and accountability to the project. So we're some occasions the partners are not delivering what we want them to deliver and are not following up on deadlines, etc. So that's kind of been the most challenging process in this project, has been to firstly negotiate the project and actually agree on what the project should be and how it could be carried out in a different context. That was because we hadn't talked to kind of the partners before submitting the application. And then lastly, we have total ownership of the project since we developed the project plan, but some of the partners don't have the expertise and not also the ownership to the project, and I think that influenced the accountability of the different partners. So, well, it was a success for us to write the application in a short time frame, but I will recommend collaborating more with partners to develop the application. I think the accountability and ownership is important when carrying out this project. Yeah, and finally, please follow us on X and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and also have a look at our web page, where we will make more updates as we have several outcomes from the project. Thank you for your attention.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you also indirectly here from Frode for this presentation. Very interesting to hear, and I'm always sort of in these contexts with the large centralized action, always surprised and impressed by the work capacity that you have out at the higher education institution. So when we always try to advise, I mean, I think there's no such thing as a standard sort of application way or process in this. So, but perhaps more than 2 or 3 weeks in terms of applying. But I hope many of you saw some of the similarities also to other centralized actions in terms of the lump sum budget that is included for this action that some other applicants in centralized actions are probably familiar with as well. The idea for us here is, of course, that we want to designate some additional time for you as an audience to raise your questions, to I imagine these project examples, and to your colleagues who have actually sat down with an application and are actively managing their teacher academies. So we do have some questions that were sent in advance, but please also prepare. I saw that we had at least 2 questions sent in via the chat and the Q&A, so we'll take the opportunity to answer them as much as possible. And again, I probably would stress that again. We as NAs, we sadly don't have the expert knowledge always when it comes to these types of actions. So sometimes we do have to refer to EAC, to the Commission, to make sure that you have the best and most definitive answer, to make sure that there's no confusion regarding eligibility criteria or probably softer issues as well that could come up to, again, sort of the qualitative assessments, etc. So yeah, so as I'm welcoming up then Frode, Mats, Lillian, Rune, and Ditte to the floor, and I think to kind of just an easy question, but I don't know if you have any insider knowledge here, but to either Rune or Ditte, we had a question sent in, if we know if there will be any calls published in 2025 or 2026. So do you have any future? Rune,
No.
No, we don't.
No?
But I tried in vain to get this year's call date earlier. But IKEA would not give it to me for reasons of equal treatment. So I think they're very reluctant to give us any information in advance. So that's all I can say.
And that goes for all of us. I mean, sometimes, as some of you might be aware, especially if you've been involved with this action before, we had previous calls. I think it was it 2 years ago now in 2022. But last year we didn't have any, so this call is obviously due to additional funds being given to the action and then opening up another call. Usually we do know when the Commission sends in their annual work program, we get an idea over what type of actions will be funded in this year. But that's sadly one of the facts with decentralized actions. They're not always recurring every year, and not as consequent as some of the decentralized might be. Perhaps then to Ditte as well, and we had the question, can only EU countries participated? I think you broached that question when you presented.
Yeah, well, it's either EU member states or third countries associated to the programs, and which means that there are, and now I don't have the list in my head, but it would be possible to find them in the program guide, because there is like the EU countries, of course, and then there are some non-EU countries also associated to the program, like Norway, Switzerland. Maybe Frode, if he can. I know Norway, for example, Switzerland. No, not Switzerland, but and yeah, I don't have the. But it's possible to get that list. It's yeah.
Yeah. So it's a wider definition, just, and I think
yeah.
What was previously called program countries. So obviously,
exactly.
I think overall, it's 33 different countries that entail that are associated to the program, and that can then also partake in this. And now I'm touching upon perhaps the more difficult questions. So we have 2 questions also directed more towards the NAs, but if we know more about the roles of associated partners in a Teacher Academies project, and also we had a question regarding indirect costs in the budget, if that can be included. I think I know an 80% answer on the latter one. So maybe the first one with regards to associated partners, if Rune or Ditte, or if we can divert the question to IACIA or...
What was the question more precisely about the associated partners?
If associated, the role of associated partners in the project, yeah. So I think we can answer more generally. I mean, the way that associated partners is used in the Erasmus Plus program is sort of non-funded project partners. So people that could perhaps be valuable in the results or for the target groups, they can be included but not then compensated. That's usually
that's like like supporting organization is normally also described, right? Yeah. Exactly. And some fund who can help with the implementation.
Yeah, exactly. And then our final question, which was sent in the Q&A, which I thought was, it's always a little bit more difficult, and I still think that Elena, who asked if these budgets are working with an overhead, and I tried to do some research during the break, and I do believe that the lump sum budget that is used, they calculate a fixed rate, and I do believe that fixed rate is 7%, so you can't request specific amounts just regarding overhead, but I think this, of course, being a very important question, I know from any Swedish organization, I think this would be a point to clarify with IACIA if this is difficult in your calculating of your budget lump sum. But otherwise, I would perhaps ask how Mats or Frode or Lillian, how you dealt with this in your project. Some of you might have also had a different budget model. I don't know. So if we can open up for Mats or Frode, how was it for you guys?
Frode, you were in charge of making the budget, so maybe you could answer.
Well, making the budgets is one thing. Then you have to do it according to the rules, and you cannot ask for more money. You have to adhere to all the requirements and regulations. And so it's actually more about how you've run the project, Mats. And you said something about that in your presentation, that you lacked money for coordinating it, for instance. But that's how it is. And so, but you please continue about the economics of the project.
Was that a question to me, Frode?
Yes, it was.
And what was the question?
No, but how have you been managing with the budget that you've been assigned in the project?
Yes, we have had an internal reporting before the mid report to the EU, so we were able to help partners, but also understand if they were reporting according to the requirements from the EU. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So yes, so I'll answer up. So in terms of reverting the question back to our project examples, I think both of you highlighted some of the difficulties and hurdles in engaging in a teacher academies, but in essence, with your partnership, building it up, did you have prior experience working in partnerships with similar projects with all of your partners, or was there variations or any difficulties attached to that? So, Lillian, if this question would first go to you.
Yeah, I hadn't been collaborating with any of these partners prior to this project. I've been writing an application with a couple of them before, but again, writing up an application is one thing. You can see some kind of engagement and some kind of ways in which they actually are trustworthy. But when we come to implementing, then other things are in play in that sense, and it has been a translation also to the people that I engage within VIA within this project, because I have people that has not been writing up the application, so there was a translation going on in what do you mean by this paraphrase, or what do you mean by this when we promise this, what then, and these kind of things that I also think that Mats try to stressed out in that sense. So but I think that having the physical meeting in Brussels gives quite an intention on are these people, you know, do they deliver in many ways? Yeah. But we have organized in the sense that I will be the coordinator in general, but I have a daily project manager gathering this project and had lots of hours on this specific projects as well. And then we have actually been out applying for more funding to be able to, for instance, send some of the students to participate in this and supplement in various ways to make things happen. So the people I have been working on this project are very well aware of getting budget funding for making this project work.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you mentioned that. I appreciated what you said also, Lillian, about sort of at least what I interpret as the worthwhile of a clear communication and clear expectations with your partners when going into that from sort of day one. Especially, I think, working in these collaborations where you have a cross-sectoral between both higher education and school education, for example, I think that becomes very important. And we also, I wanted to ask here as well, which let me find it first, but I thought was a very sort of astute and just direct question, which I'll ask to Mats and Frode, but in what sort of concrete or simple terms do your two teachers and students benefit from your Teacher Academies project? So what's the results for them at your institutions?
Well, the main results is that we developed the pedagogy of teacher education, so how to teach pre-service teachers, and that benefits the teacher educators at the different universities, but also, of course, the pre-service teachers that will have more quality teacher education, and what we hope to understand a bit about in Work Package 5 is how this influence students in school that are the most important thing of teacher education, how we influence students' experiences in physical education.
Great, thanks. And for you, Lillian, what do you foresee in your project? What will be the sort of the concrete benefits for your teacher and students?
I think that the teaching institutions will be gathering lots of experience on working on the different subject areas, and they will be introduced to all 4 of them, although that individual within the countries, they need to dive into at least one of them, more specific in collaboration with their teacher, pre and in-service teachers. And specifically in Denmark, what we also have gained is that we actually have arranged, because we have this issue on no absence for students on our teacher profession, then we have put together the course in this and been very specific of what they actually gain on this, and provided it for the deans to let them see if absence in the sense of this is what they gain when they are absent within this project, and that will do for the curriculum that they are missing out on their teacher professions. So they actually get a certificate in the Danish context to be part of this project that will do to the absence as well. So I think that, but this is a construction that came up because we were challenged about this mobility part and the students actually going to visit the different partner countries. So we had to come up with something. So now we actually have not only 2 or 3 students, pre or in-service teacher students, but we actually have 20. So things are elaborating throughout the project to be constructive in ways of thinking.
Perfect. Thank you. So I see that one question which arrived, I believe in the chat, but which I didn't have an immediate answer from. And so I would like to invite, see if Jennifer from Karolinska Institutet could perhaps come to the floor and also ask her question to the group and see if we can complement in terms of expertise in answering your question. Jennifer.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm wondering if the call is open for training teachers in the higher education sector. So there is no initial teacher training for such teachers. It's only competence developments once they're there, or if they're doing their PhD. So I'm just wondering if this call is open to training such persons.
So do we have, if either Rune or Ditte, is this something that you have a direct answer to, or? I think otherwise, okay. I think
no, I'm
Jennifer...
not. I'm not. I wouldn't be able to give 100% clear answer. I'm not sure. I would have to say I don't know. According to the description in the program guide, it's not mentioned specifically, but that does not necessarily mean that is not. So I think we would have to address it.
I think it would be easy to research, Jennifer, so we could also get back and then have to the group. But what definitely. I believe, and from just what my knowledge is that it sort of goes up to upper secondary education. So exactly. ICED level 0 to 3. So I think that entails that it wouldn't be for higher education, but again, as to not just sort of do a sort of a hip shot with some guesses, we can get back to you instead and then confirm, because I think it's a simple and straightforward enough question that we can have this answered.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. So while we're at it as well, I mean, we do have some other questions here that were sent in to our participants and some that we have set ourselves. I don't know, Leila, if we have any other questions in the chat that should be raised, or if any of our audience would like to take the opportunity now with everyone here to kind of ask a question in these final minutes? Okay, if not, obviously we will have this recording afterwards, so you can, like me, we will make it available as with the presentation so that you can access everything afterwards. But I think, after all, I think this is a very sort of a context I really appreciate outside of my other Nordic colleagues, which we work on together jointly with these actions, which I truly appreciate. I think the benefit also of us being Nordic organizations here, we have similar questions, we come from similar national contexts. So a final question that I would like to answer all of our project example is that what would for you be the most important advice that you could give other Nordic organizations interested in applying in teacher academies? So benefit of hindsight, where you are now in your project and where you have been with your application. So I don't know if I can give perhaps Mats the floor, if you have one final send-off for our participant, and also Lillian will get the word afterwards.
Thanks. That was a big question.
A big, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the important advice I would say to have a great idea, invite partners that you can collaborate with, and then allocate enough money for you to actually coordinate the project in an effective manner. Yeah, maybe that's the main take-home.
Yeah, thank you. Preparation is key. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Mats. And Lillian?
I think that actually doing a lot of effort to actually collaborate on this with your partners and have the time to actually go through the application and actually have not just your idea, but to get a shared and common idea and elaborate on that, even though that it means, because it takes time. So you have to have the time, and it also means that you need to write up, like Mats and Frode also did, write up the application more or less in 2 or 3 weeks in that sense. But we used quite a amount of time to actually get to that part of the process. And then be critical with your partners, because you really need to be able to collaborate with them in various ways.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So as a final sort of wrap up, thank you all so much for participating here today. It's been immensely appreciated. I think all of the project examples presenting here today, thank you for your contributions, and to all my Nordic colleagues as well for joining here today. I would like to stress, and I think I speak for all NAs, that don't be strangers, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You'll have our contact information sent out with the evaluation. So really, we try to help in every way we can, whether it's with the application project or during your project management. Don't be strangers, not only for problems, but when things go your way and you have the good practice that we can spread forward. But hopefully we will all see you again soon. An evaluation will, as mentioned, be sent out shortly. I kindly ask you to fill that in. Otherwise, I wish you all a very pleasant afternoon, and thank you for joining.